For September 21st, 2023, I'm Joey Hargis. I'm the Metro Zoning Administrator, and I'll be presenting the cases in today's public hearing. I would ask, if you would please, to put your phones on vibrate or silent so as not to interrupt today's proceedings, and ask the same too of our board and staff up here. Get mine shut down. There we go. Okay. Again, the board is in session for its regularly scheduled hearing of September 21st, 2023. We'll go through and review the cases, all the cases set for public hearing today. And then after the staff, myself, gives the presentation, we'll ask the parties that are in support of a case to come forward to the table there in front of you. There's a microphone there in front of you. Looks a lot like mine. There's two buttons, and a red ring will come on. If you'll hit the button on the right-hand side at the base of that ring, just press that one time and one time only. The light will turn red. Identify yourself, give us your name and address, and then present your testimony. Where you'll be sitting, just to your immediate right on the ledge there, you see an LED clock. That will be the time that's set aside for your testimony. The board in its rules provides 5 minutes for testimony from witnesses and appellants in cases that do not have opposition. For cases that have opposition, appellants and opposition will have 10 minutes. Now, this time limit is an aggregate and not per speaker. So if you have multiple speakers who wish to speak, be sure to discuss before your case is called and divide up your time accordingly. The clock will run on testimony. I'll control the clock over here. I'll stop it for any questions that the board may ask of you and for your answer to such questions. But once you kind of finish the question and get back into additional testimony, I'll start it right back up. The appellants are permitted under the board's rules to have a rebuttal period. The opposition is not entitled to a rebuttal. So the applicants will need to save a portion of their time on that clock for rebuttal, and can either do it at the beginning, delegating an amount of time, or just taking the remaining balance of their time. The cases all set today for you are, the board is authorized to hear the cases set today under Section 1740-180 of the Metro Code of Law. The board's empowered under state law under 137207 of the state code to hear cases before us today. The board does use a consent agenda, and I will call into the case and read the captions of each of the cases recommended by Chairman Pepper for consent today. If there are any parties present in opposition and only opposition to the cases numbers that I call, if you'll raise your hand, please, we'll pull that case from consent and hear it in its regular order on today's agenda. The first case recommended for the consent agenda by the chairman is case 2023-93. Mr. Blaine Bonadies, the appellant, Elton Benjamin and Laura Lynn Green at 4300 Wyoming Avenue, requesting a variance in the rear setback at 4300 Wyoming. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 93? Mr. Chairman, seeing none, just again, one last call. Any opposition to case 2023-93 at 4300 Wyoming Avenue? All right, Mr. Chairman, I don't see any opposition to that case. The next case recommended for consent is case 2023-95. Mr. Daniel Whitley, the appellant, First Baptist Church, the treasurer, for the property located at 1105 Hadley Avenue in the Old Hickory area. They are requesting a special exception to construct a new sanctuary and fellowship hall on the property in Old Hickory. Are there any parties present opposed to case 95 at 1105 Hadley Avenue? Mr. Chairman, I see no hands. The next case recommended for consent is case 2023-96. Ms. Betsy Shackelford, the appellant, Madesh Hotels, LLC, the owner of the property located at 2828 Patriot Way, requesting a variance in the number and size of allowed signage in the MUL district. Are there any parties present in opposition or questions to case 2023-96 at 2828 Patriot Way? Mr. Chairman, I see none. Okay, the next case recommended for consent, case 2023-99. This is an application by Jackie Buford located at the property of 1109 Westchester Drive, requesting a variance in side setbacks. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 99 at 1109 Westchester Avenue? Okay. Seeing none. Next case recommended for consent, case 2023-100. Jonathan Berry and Susanna Pauline are the appellants and owners of the property at 536 Bonerwood Drive, requesting a variance in street setbacks in the RS10 district. Are there any parties present opposed to case 100 on Bonerwood Drive? Mr. Chairman, seeing no hands. The next case on consent is case 2023-101, Ryan and Mary Campbell, located at 504 Dillard Court, requesting a variance in the rear setback in the RS20 district. Are there any parties present opposed to case 101 on Dillard Court? Mr. Chairman, the record reflects there are no hands raised. Next case recommended for consent is case 2023-105, Premier Sign Company, WRPV 13NV Nashville LLC, the owners of the properties at 730 Nashboro Boulevard, requesting variance in the sign requirements. Is there any parties present opposed to case 105, 730 Nashboro Boulevard? I did have one gentleman present, Mr. Chairman. I answered his question. He thought it was for some signage in the development elsewhere. He was actually very happy that signage is being proposed on that building. So I'll just let the record reflect that. And then finally, the last case recommended for consent, case 2023-111, Treg Littlefield and Bitsy, the appellant and owners of the property at 709 North 9th Street, requesting variance in rear and side setbacks in the RS5 district. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 111 on 709 North 9th? Mr. Chairman, seeing none, that is your consent agenda. Again, recapping for all parties, cases recommended for consent, cases 93, 95, 96, 99, 100, 101, 105, and 111. Okay, motion for consent agenda has passed. If you are here on any of those cases which I called, you are free to leave. Your cases have been approved. Follow up with the Codes Department beginning on Monday morning to continue processing your permits, and we'll get correspondence out to you in the coming week. I'd also, I'll always advocate if you wish to stay and hang out with the rest of us, and no one ever stays. So, sir, the consecutive meeting streak of no one staying for me is probably well into the 3 digits. So, all right. With that, the board also allows council members to address the board. We've had a couple elections here in the last few weeks, and I'm not familiar with all the faces for new council members, so we'll call for any council members who may be present, both new and old, in this time, if they want to address the board. If you'll raise your hand, please, if you are present. Mr. Chairman, I see no elected officials with us today. Okay, so we'll begin today's agenda. I'll call the first case, which will be case 2023-73, Simon's Properties, LLC, Bradley Home Healthcare Center, Incorporated, a special exception and variance for the property at 3509 Charlotte Avenue. And the appellant's present. Good. Are there any parties in opposition to case 73 that are present? Okay, seeing none, sir, if you let me go through the presentation first, then I'll turn it over to you. Okay, I was worried for a moment. We had some video issues before the meeting started. All right. Again, this case is case 2023-73, located for the property at 3509 Charlotte Avenue, again in West Nashville. This is a view of the zoning map of the subject property. This is an adaptive residential development located on the south margin of Charlotte Avenue. An aerial view of the subject property. And that will be the property located here where my cursor is moving. This is a view of the existing subject property and the properties in question in today's case as they existed upon our visit to the site approximately 3 to 4 weeks ago. Again, views of subject property. These views along Charlotte Avenue, and then I'll post the site plan proposed of the subject. And this will be the overall site plan there. Parking located underneath the building. The slide on the screen kind of confused me at first, but I understand this is a surface lot with residential above it. So, okay. With that, sir, I'll turn it over to you. You've got 5 minutes to present your testimony. Over to your right's the time. Again, I'll start and stop it on testimony and stop it for any questions the board might have for you.
Thank you, Mr. Hargis. Members of the board, back before you on this presentation.
Sir, could you give us your name?
Sorry, John Rankin. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
John Rankin, 1709 Woodland Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37206. Thank you. We came before you earlier, but we're representing this to you as a fresh case. We've obviously received a planning recommendation for the project for what we're proposing to you today. We've provided NDOT with a site distance survey. We've had community meetings. We've received no opposition. We've received no emails, no letters, no discussion that in opposition. We've included not only the former Councilwoman Murphy, but the current Councilwoman Brenda Gadd. And again, we're here just asking for 2 special exceptions to the front and rear setback. We're not asking for a variance. We're not suggesting we have a hardship. We're just asking for a special exception to the ARD design standards for this project, and we'd ask for your support. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Rankin?
The 20-foot variance, special exception variance at the rear, can you explain to us why you're asking for that?
The majority of our design, and it's the previous slide, because of the shape of the lot as almost a perfect square, we really need more. We need it in order to get a light well in the center with some amenities. And get our 1,350 square foot unit that we like. We need it to be a certain size. That's why we're asking for it. So it's this right here. So that is our typical unit that we do that's normal. And to do that, we need this 130 by 140 square feet, 130 by 140 feet in length and width. So we're just doing it as a design request, essentially. We're not saying we have a hardship. It just works really well for the design. The reality is on a 20-foot rear setback, it's typically for parking and all those other sorts of things, we're parking underneath. And so in the parking slide, we're going to go in one direction and out another direction. So we really only need 5 to 10 feet in the rear for our trash collection, and that will go up under the podium slab.
And the planning recommendation mentioned parking shall not exceed the maximum established for the UZO.
Right.
Can you address that?
Sure. Well, there's the maximum for the UZO would be 64 spaces, and we probably have 52. But we're not going to propose. Of course, there's no requirement for us to have parking, but we're doing an entire deck underneath because we think there has to be some parking for the folks that live here. So we're not proposing in excess of the 64 unit parking spaces, 2 per unit.
Are you okay with the recommendations from planning?
We are, yes.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, thank you. We will close the public hearing and discuss. Thoughts? Well, it is a special exception, which makes our job easier because, the applicant does not have to show a hardship, and I think, there is no opposition. I don't see any deleterious effect to the neighborhood. In fact, it's consistent with the land use, this design is consistent with the land use policy there, so, I think it meets the requirements of a special exception, but. But if anybody disagrees,
I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue with the rear setbacks. The front setback goes to 0, but looking, for most of the other commercial properties out in Charlotte, they're pretty much right on top of it as well. So, I don't have any opposition to it.
do you want to end that with a motion?
I think he did.
Okay.
Took it that way, didn't you?
Well, it sounded like he was getting very close, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Want to make a motion to approve?
Okay, I'll second that. So, there's a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. The next case before the board will be case 2023-89. Mr. Roy Dale was the appellant. Mark Meadows, the owner of the property located at 411 Cowan Street, requesting a variance in the setback requirements in the IG zone district. This is also located within the UDO and UZO. The applicant seeking to locate portable concrete batch plant on a temporary basis, and this is referred to the board under section 1716-130E3. The appellant has alleged jurisdiction under 1740-180, item B. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 89? Okay, Mr. Chairman, seeing none, I will bring that case up for you. And if the applicants want to go ahead and come to the table, we can get underway. Okay, members, this case is located at 411 Cowan Street. And I'll give you a little better orientation. This is located on the east side of Cowan Street, which is adjacent to the off-ramp for North First exit from I-65. I still call it I-65, I-24 south or west, east. Folks, long-term folks know in Nashville know this is 65 south, but North First Street. This is the subject property in red. Again, a little wider view. And then an aerial view of the subject property. The nearest parcel that we could find with residential units approval is currently vacant, and that is this parcel located here to the east. And this aerial shows the structures. These structures have been demolished in preparation for future redevelopment that's coming. To give you some idea, this Top Golf is located here. The new development for Oracle is located just north of this. And this is the subject site. Titan Stadium would be due south. So the request in our measurement is based upon the measurement from the subject property line to the nearest residential structure, which is approximately 734 feet. And the nearest zoning line for residential property is 450 feet across the interstate highway. It's referenced in the zoning code. The spacing for concrete batch plants like this we are not to count navigable waterways or, I believe railroad lines are in that. Unfortunately, controlled access highways are not. That may be something in the new council we may approach with a text change to eliminate that barrier, because there is a physical barrier between the two sites, and the intent of that spacing is to keep those apart. The distance to the closest park in this location is 1,816 linear feet. It's a view of the subject site. Again, subject site's located where my cursor is. This is the view of the future roadway plan on the major and collector street plan of the roads proposed through the Oracle site, with a couple of roundabouts. You all may also be familiar that Cleveland Street is going to tie in underneath the interstate, just to the north off the screen here. There's going to be an underpass going underneath the interstate there that connects the site to the District 5 area across North First / Dickerson Pike. This is a site plan of the existing building located on site. The proposed setup would be located on the southeastern portion of the site. And this is the zoning code section that talks about, as I alluded to before, that concrete plant activity shall not occur within 1,000 feet of a residential structure or within 2,000 feet of the property line of a park or community education facilities. And you see it exempts navigable waterways are excluded from this requirement. And that is the case record as we have it. I will put up any slide the applicant wishes me to throw up there. I'll be happy to. With that, gentlemen and ladies, if you'll identify yourselves and make your presentation board. Again, you'll have 5 minutes for presentation, and we'll pause for questions and answers there too.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Tom White. I'm the attorney for the applicant here, 500 11th Avenue North. I'm here with Roy Dale, the engineer for the project. To my right is Steve Meadows, the owner of this business, and his daughter, Jennifer, who's the manager. I've sent in a legal position paper, which I hope you all have read, but I think it's very clear what you normally deal with on a variance is narrow, shallow topo of the site. That's not the situation here. What the zoning ordinance talks about specifically is also that, quote, other exceptional situations or circumstances. That's exactly what we have here. And if you look at the affidavit, the one issue which we have here is that we're within a residential requirement of 1,000 feet. We're 735. You can't see it, although, as Mr. Hargis said, the zoning ordinance talks about if there's a waterway, if there's a railroad, that doesn't apply. Here you've got an interstate. The interstate right-of-way is basically 450 feet. And from the topo, you can't see from our site to the residential or vice versa. But the exceptional circumstances here are really contained in the affidavit from Jennifer Meadows as the manager of the business. As my client has an operating plant, which is on the site where Oracle is to come to the city. The facts are very clear. There's no dispute, but the head of NDOT, then Public Works, Mark Sturtevant, the head of Metropolitan Properties, then Trail Webb, came to my client. And they basically said, Oracle is not going to come to Nashville unless they can acquire this site. The client didn't want to sell. The city came back and said, if you don't sell the property to Oracle, they're going to go to Texas. All this is not refuted. And in the meantime, Metro assured my client they were going to find a place for them to operate their concrete batch plant. In good faith, the client then eventually sold the property to Oracle. Everybody's aware of the fait accompli. That's now here, a huge plus for the city. And Metro, in good faith, attempted to locate on a Metro towing lot, which is there close by. It didn't work out because at some point the police department figured that that might not be the very best place for a batch plant. They needed it for the towing lot. But Metro also looked at this exact address, 411 Cowan Street, and they said they'd be totally supportive of it locating on this site. It was visited by Mr. Sturtevant, the head of Public Works, also Mr. Trail Webb. In the interim, Mr. Sturtevant went to the planning department. Trail Webb left Metro government. So there was a limbo there, and all of a sudden Metro came back and said this could take another 12 months to really figure this out. My client is temporarily on the Oracle site with the grace of Oracle. That's about to expire. So this is our request for the variance. Also make it clear that there's a councilmanic line here that has changed. At the time Mr. Dale made the application, it was a different council member, Sean Parker. We've talked to him. He's totally supportive. The lines have now been redrawn. Now it's Jacob Kubin. It's number 19, Freddie O'Connell's former district. Both council members are totally supportive. Everybody at Metro government we've talked about is totally supportive. And basically, with respect to the site itself, as Mr. Hargis indicated, it'd be put on the back corner of the property southeast. It's the only part of the property that's not in the floodplain. So it's back away from there. And basically, with respect to what happens here, if they can't operate on this site, they can't be there. The other thing that I'll mention with respect to Metro's positions, Metro is very, very adamant with my client about the advantages to the city of Nashville about concrete for the new Titan Stadium. That's why our specific request is for a temporary batch plant, 3 years. That's all it'll take. We took that period of time from Metro because they said the stadium will be built within that period of time. So we're willing to term limit our application for a concrete batch plant for that 3-year period of time. But again, far less wear and tear on the roads, the cost savings to the city, because as you realize, the haul cost, the drayage in this business is huge. It's right next to where the stadium is going to be. These are all the reasons why I think we clearly meet. all the reasons that are applicable. And if there's an exceptional situation, I think this is exactly it. We'll answer any questions that you have, but I did want to comment. I was teasing the chairman about this in advance. The last time I was down here, we had an issue with the roof issue on West End. And at the end of it was a contentious matter. And at the end of that, the chairman and Tom Wallace told me what an excellent job I did and then ruled against me. And so I want to say this time, just tell me that I did an okay job, but approve this. I mean, the facts are here, it ought to be approved. So we'll answer any questions, but this is absolutely, totally justified. It's somebody that relied on Metro government, and you can't possibly see that residential structure, which is unoccupied, from this site, nor from the residential. Can you see it? There's a 20 feet elevation up on the interstate, 450 feet wide. 40 feet, 450 feet wide. So it can't be seen. We urge you to approve this. We'll answer any questions. Thank you for your courtesies.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any questions?
Got some questions.
Sure.
In regards to the concrete plant zoning ordinance, I understand that, but you're asking for a temporary batch plant. I'm not an expert in concrete plants, batch plants, permanent or temporary. Is there something significantly different from a temporary batch plant to something that's permanent? Because a lot of this looks like it's more associated with dust and screening of equipment than it is more so safety of other things.
I'll let my client answer that in part, but one I'll mention to you is it is a temporary batch plant. It's actually on wheels. They can be wheeled in and wheeled out. As far as exactly how they operate, I'm going to let Mr. Meadows answer that. But it is, when I say temporary, I really do mean this. In part, I said to the client, you really could have moved this structure in there and probably just operated. But they were trying to do it right, which was come down in front of this board. But again, Mr. Hargis has got pictures of this. It's just wheeled in and wheeled out. Go ahead.
Yes, it's 12 foot wide, 35 feet long.
And sir, before, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you state your, I know Mr. White
Yes,
introduced
sir.
you. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir, Mark Stephen Meadows,
And your address, please, sir.
411 Cowan Street.
All right, thank you.
It's a concrete mobile portable plant. It's not a stationary plant. It's all on wheels. It takes three tractor trailers just to bring it in. You set it up and you're done. And it's got, you said something about dust. It's got dust collectors, portable dust collectors already made on it that set on it. Anything else you can ask me, I'll let you know.
No, I think that's sufficient. I mean, this in regards to a concrete plant, which
Yes,
I
sir.
think is probably 10 times the size of
Yeah.
what you're describing.
Yes, sir. The other ones are all stationary and they
Have large
Yeah.
silos.
Yeah, you have to put those together. This one is all mobile.
Okay. And does the 3-year term, does it have an extension on it, or is it the end of 3 years?
It currently ends at 3 years. If Metro came to us and said, we still need you there for the stadium, we'd consider doing something. But the 3-year projection, Commissioner, came from NDOT saying they thought that was plenty enough time to get it done. And so we agreed to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Ransom and members of the board, I failed to state that I think you have in your packet of planning is also supportive of the time limit.
And Mr. White, I didn't see any, there's been no objection from neighbors. I didn't see any in the package at all.
There's been no objection, and both the former council member and the current one support it.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and discuss.
Sounds like they have all the support they need.
Can you turn your mic on there that way?
I have no other questions. I think they have all the support they need. I think it's important for all the developments downtown and, so.
Yeah, and I think the hardship, I do think that the location of the property below this interstate overpass with a 450-foot right-of-way, and the fact that the only residential properties are within 700 feet, and they're apparently both condemned, according to Mr. Hargis. So
On the other end of an elevated interstate.
right, elevated interstate. So. Well, I'll make a motion. We approve it.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, being none, we'll vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you. Excellent job, Mr. White.
Thank you. Thank you, President. I didn't hear my friend, Mr. Wallace, so I didn't overwhelm him.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The The next case on the board's agenda will be case 2023-090, Sabia Construction, the appellant, Sasservary Development LLC, the owner of the property at 3109 Granny White Pike, requesting a variance in the street setback in the R8 zoning district. The appellant is seeking to construct a new two-family dwelling, referred to the board under section 17-12-030C3. The appellants are present. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 90 on Granny White Pike? Okay, we do have some folks. For just a reminder from the beginning, each half of the appellants and the opposition will have 10 minutes to present their case to the board. I'm going to reset the clock to that time there, but I saw 2 or 3 hands there. If you guys can kind of speak as to how you'd like to divvy up your 10 minutes of time, that'd be great. I'll say the same of the appellants here at the table with us, that 10 minutes is an aggregate. Appellant, you may wish to save a portion of your time for rebuttal, and after I go through the presentation. So I'll bring that right up for you. Sorry, my PowerPoint thinks I have 2 screens here, but I assure it I only have one. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Case 2023-090, again, 3109 Granny White Pike. The subject property is located on the northwest margin at the intersection of Ferguson Avenue and Granny White Pike, just across from Sevier Park. This is the subject property located here, where my cursor is. A view of the zoning map with contour elevation, and a view of existing structure located, I believe, on the property, a view from Granny White. This view is from Ferguson. View into the rear of the subject property. Next slide is looking east into Sevier Park. Another view of the rear of the lot and the existing residence, and a floor plan, conceptual floor plan showing the layout along with the proposed setbacks of 30 feet here at this location. Okay. Again, I'll be happy to go to any slide the applicant or opposition requests that I do. I'll turn it over to the folks at the table if you will identify yourselves and then begin your presentation to the board. Again, you'll have 10 minutes, some of which you'd like to save for rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Hargis. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Emily Lamb. I'm with Thompson Burton Law Firm, 1801 West End Avenue in Nashville. Here today on behalf of the developer, requesting a variance for a 10-foot reduction from the contextual setback on this property. Last week, I sent the board a legal memo along with an updated site plans and some renderings, and I just passed out. Tamika, did you pass out the bigger printouts so you can see those? But as you'll see, only the front porch of these dwellings are going to encroach beyond the setback of the existing structure, and even that is only about 5 feet. The house itself that we're proposing is within the contextual setback. We're requesting this variance based on the topography of the back portion of the lot where the new homes would have to be built if we're pushed all the way back. The pictures, I think, didn't do it full justice. I've driven by and it's a little bit steeper than those pictures show. So there is some topographical issues, concerns there. Additionally, the current structure is built with a front setback of 38.5 feet. And when you're determining the contextual setback, there are only three lots on this parcel. So we've got a very limited context that we're looking at in the midst of a very dense neighborhood. If you look at the context of the neighborhood, if you zoom out, this is better seen in my legal brief, the screenshot I provided from Parcel Viewer, you'll see the vast majority of the homes are much closer to the street than just this very limited 3-lot stretch here. So constructing the two homes farther back with the contextual setback that we have been given would actually be out of context with the general area. In addition to the physical hardship and the limited context of this block face, this property has exceptional circumstance that's contemplated in TCA 13-7-2073, in that as compared to the vast majority of lots in this area, this is a corner lot. It's served by an alley. And as the proposed site plan shows, this variance will allow us to use the rear alley, give us the necessary turn radius to use the rear alley for access. The property is within the urban zoning overlay where alley access is preferable to front loading garages, both for contextual and planning purposes. Alley access, I would say, is particularly preferable in this 12 South area. This neighborhood, as you probably know, has an extraordinarily busy street, both with pedestrian and vehicular traffic. And so allowing us this variance to have full alley access will keep some of this, keep the vehicles from these homes off of that front street or the side street. It's also going to allow this, I think, protect the safety of the pedestrians in the neighborhood. Lots of tourists in the neighborhood, plus severe park across the street. So based on the physical hardship of the land, as well as the very limited context of this block face, and in order to promote the safety of the pedestrians in the area, we're requesting the setback variance of what's only 5 feet from the existing setback. I think that's important to note that the existing structure is at 38.5, and we're only seeking a 5-foot variance from there. I think we meet the criteria pretty clearly set forth in 1740, in the Metro Code, 1740, 370A through F. And I won't go into all of those because of the time, but I think we meet all of those. It's not financial and it's tied to the land. It's not financial. We're not going to negatively impact the area. I would argue we're in better context with the whole area. So with all of that in mind, we would respectfully request this variance. I'm going to turn this over to our architect. He has a couple of comments to make as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Ward with Allard Ward Architects. I've lived in this neighborhood for 34 years now, so it's sort of a real opportunity to sort of be able to design two beautiful houses to front what will be our new sort of refurbished Sevier Park. And I think the goal here, while we, as the drawing clearly shows, and as Emily alluded to, we can fit the footprint of our house clearly inside the setbacks that were given to us, and do that at the same time, I think, and preserve some of these mature trees that are on the perimeter. The side setback and the right-of-way are very generous in terms of creating green space, I think, around these two proposed houses. It's also worth noting we felt like from a massing and contextual standpoint, these really needed to be two separate houses as opposed to sort of one conjoined large structure. And the goal there being to create sort of a massing in terms of more of a 2.5-story roofline massing as opposed to like a 3-story block massing. So some very special considerations went into sort of creating something that feels a little bit more neighborhood-like. But the goal of the variance is, I just feel like when you've got this sort of front yard, this view in a neighborhood that's pedestrian active like this, that a living porch on, I mean, all these houses have porches. This particular house we're going to take down had a small stoop, but lifestyles have changed, and I feel like this living porch on the front is a critical design element. Therefore, the goal is to the variance so we can build these projected sort of living porches on the front. This drawing is different from the one you have. We've pulled this back a little bit. Those porches now are these were 18 feet deep, and we've as we got further into design, you'll see those images in your packet show this a little bit tighter than that. So anyway, the goal being to create these sort of two beautiful porches to face this park and really activate these two houses contextually into the neighborhood.
And so what intrudes into the setback is just the porch looking at your, okay.
Yes, sir. We from a design standpoint, when we wanted to make sure what we were designing would fit. And questions being, can't we just push the front of the house back? The reality is the 2-car garage on the ground floor sitting in the setback and the buildable area and the square footage sort of required for this doesn't really give us a lot of extra space if we're going to be a 2.5-story house. Now, if I want to do a 3-story house, just put the garage on the down, then you could make it work. But we really want something that's massed more like a traditional house.
And I would also, to that point of the garages is just not for luxury. I think that truly helps promote the safety of that neighborhood because you're getting potentially four cars for each home off of the street in terms of parking, out of the alley in terms of parking. We're going to have them in an enclosed garage so that they're not potentially getting in the way of other vehicles that are in this heavily trafficked neighborhood.
Thank you. This is more of a clarification question for zoning. The corner lots always, was my understanding that a corner lot setback is determined on the front face of a corner. It wasn't necessarily constrained to contextual setback. So I just wanted clarification. Are we talking about the contextual setback as the real setback, or are we talking about the current setback as because they're asking for a 5-foot variance, and it's my understanding that the current setback is 38.5.
Yeah, the current setback for the Granny White Pike is the contextual setback of the two lots to the north.
So the corner lot in this particular one doesn't come into effect?
Correct. This, coming up this lot does not. On existing lots inside the city now, it's just table driven along the side street.
So they're actually asking for a 15 or 14 and a half foot variance based
Along the,
I believe the context is 48 feet, or I'm sorry, 43 feet, and we're trying to build, including the porches, I think at 33.
in your current packet, it notes 48 feet.
Okay, I'd have to look at it, then
Because you say 5 feet, but that's what I'm trying to figure out the starting point. I think it sounds like it might be 14.5 feet, not 5 feet.
5 feet in front of the house is there today.
Right.
correct. It's going to be 14 from, once the demo occurs, we would apply it from the two houses to the north. I think
Is the contextual setback not 48 feet?
Looking back, yes, 48 feet is the contextual setback on it.
And we're looking to build, we're looking to build at about 33 feet. So from the contextual setback, the porches will extend about 14 feet from the contextual setback, but from the existing setback, it's just 5 feet. Does that make sense?
It does, right. So you're putting the front of the houses at the contextual setback, and then the porch protrudes.
That's correct.
And you're saying your porches are 14 feet deep, roughly?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
And open on three sides.
So should the request been 14 feet? Not 5? Is that right, Sonny?
Correct, yes, 14 feet.
And I'm sorry, I don't have my application, but yes, that's what the request is. It's for 14 feet from the contextual setback. But the porch is going to be what's, and again, I'm sorry, I don't have my the actual application with me that I filed.
No, that's okay.
But I had the memo that I filed where I referenced 5 feet, but that was 5 feet from the existing setback, not from the contextual. But yes, from the contextual setback, it would be a 14-foot.
Right, okay, I see, yeah, from the existing setback, okay.
I see a few circles on here indicating trees. So since I've been very quiet concerning my trees here lately, I've been fairly quiet about them. I mean, good Lord. None of the changes, additions, or what have you will affect the existing trees that are there.
On that site plan, the ones on the Ferguson side, there are two large trees, I think a maple and then a hackberry toward the back.
I'm not a hackberry fan, but go ahead.
Well, me either. They may opt to look at it differently, but the hackberry is in the back corner by the alley, and then the maple is right beside this house. And as you'll also notice on that first drawing, we're further away from the street from Ferguson than this house is. So the goal is to keep that maple tree that's there on the Ferguson side, right there, that one. And we're back. Our house sits back a little bit further. We want our front porch facing the park, not on the side as they did back then. And you can see one behind it The other ones are sort of in the center of the lot where the driveways are. It seems like there's one more in the back corner. I don't have my drawing either, but it seems like there's one other one in the other back corner. But what I've depicted, the goal would be groups of trees around the trees that we're going to keep.
And since, to steal the line from Ashanti, I drive by here a lot of times coming into town from the south, and believe it or not, I'm actually familiar with an area for a change. So it would kind of set in. So, I'm right now more positive on this, other than the hackberry tree in the back.
The hackberry in the back has actually damaged the alleyway. The alleyway is crumbled up as a result, and I know that it does drop leaves on the neighbors, and the neighbor to the north has expressed his interest in actually removing the hackberry from the back right corner.
So that there would be some encouragement to replace it with a good tree?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I love trees.
Well, the other thing to note, too, about this site, which makes it kind of nice, is we don't really have to alter the topography very much, because nothing takes out a tree faster than having to lift a lot up or push a house down. So the lot is flat enough, and with the garages oriented toward the alley, we really are only about 4 steps out of the ground when we get to the front, to these proposed front porches. So that's going to allow us to maintain more vegetation.
And you're not anticipating closing them in, making them a separate year-round type of location on these porches?
I think we are happy to, make that a requirement.
Right.
We really want them to be open porches that can be enjoyed from various sides of the property.
I'm a big advocate for porches, and you used the term living porch. Traditional front porch is, roughly 8 to 9 feet. A lot of builders do them a lot smaller now. You can't really use them, but at least architecturally they look like they have a porch. But you really need to get 8 feet for it to be usable. When you say living porch, you're really kind of turning it into more like a sitting area. I'm just wondering, I guess, why it couldn't be 9 feet as opposed to 14.
This house is very different from a typical house. It's rare that we design a house without a really wonderful sort of screen porch on the back. Most houses do tend to sort of focus their property and their social life toward the rear of the property.
Right.
That's not what's happening here. These houses are very different. We're really seeing that living space open to the front yard. So these are not sort of rocking chair porches. They are, if you want a TV out there or various pieces of furniture, that's the goal. So that's part of the reason why we made them a little bit deeper than what we would think of a traditional front porch. But part of that, too, is we very intentionally didn't want to stretch them all the way across the front of the house either, but to really make them feel more like a 3-sided open space than sort of a long, narrow porch that would just be for occasional chairs. They're really designed for people to sort of sit out and have furniture on and be an extension of the living room, which is just behind it. So that was sort of what we gave up. We could have, just put sort of 8-foot porches all the way across the front and kept it back a lot tighter, but I don't feel like they would have been utilized the same way that we imagine the spaces that we're creating. Because like I said, with the exception of these little courtyards we want to create to the sides, and this front yard is your primary outdoor space. Okay. If you don't want to live facing Granny White in the park, this is not the house for you.
Right. Get that. Okay. I have one more question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Have you given it any thought to maybe, if you flip this around a little bit and ask for a variance in the rear setback to pull it back a little bit? I want to make it work, but the corner lot facing Granny White, 14 feet over the kind of the contextual setback. When you pull it back to like a 15-foot rear setback, any reason you didn't kind of come from that angle?
I think we felt like the 20-foot setback was going to be important for vehicles, and that as long as the massing of our house fell within that these transparent things would not feel like they were obstacles. But, it's certainly an option, but I feel like from a neighborhood perspective that being able to, as as she pointed out, to be able to park 2 cars behind your garage gives you a lot of flexibility, and we would lose that. So, the goal was to keep the massing of our house clearly within this sort of anomaly that's created by this sort of one lone house here, which will not be there forever either, and will probably also be pulled forward. And to create a transparent 3-sided thing would be the advantage. And like I said, whether they're shallow or deep, it was sort of doing something that felt a little bit more square.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, we'll hear from the opposition, and you will they have some time left for rebuttal, I believe. 4 minutes, 25 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, opposition, and
All right, my name is Lance Thomas. I live at 1518 Ferguson Avenue, and I'm here to speak against the variance request at 3109 Granny White Pike. If allowed, the structures at 3109 Granny White Pike would sit 14 feet closer to Granny White than any dwelling on the same block, 7 feet closer to Granny White than any dwelling on the adjacent block to the south, approximately 17 feet closer to Granny White than any dwelling on the adjacent block to the north. And also keep in mind that a 14-foot porch protruding into the setback is a very large structure. As a hardship, the appellant states exceptional topography. This is a misrepresentation, as the property is rectangular, it has street or alley access on 3 sides, and more flat than any neighboring properties. Furthermore, properties to the immediate south on Granny White, with new or currently under construction, maintain their contextual setback with a significantly greater change in elevation from front to back. I believe the appellant has not demonstrated a legitimate hardship. Simply put, the appellant wishes to overbuild on a lot that is already larger and flatter than neighboring properties, and in doing so is requesting the BZA to grant a privilege that other residents do not enjoy. It is neither difficult nor impossible for the appellant to comply with the zoning code, as evidenced by the current structure with a footprint of well over 1,600 square feet. The need to move the dwelling forward into the front setback to maintain a necessary turning radius for a new garage is an exaggeration. 9 houses with garages that exit into the alley behind Ferguson Avenue have all maintained their contextual setbacks. I measured this morning, one has as little as 11 feet. Again, this is simply a request to overbuild, and I would encourage the BZA to disapprove the zoning request. Thank you.
thank you. Any questions? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Heather Rostoicher. I'm a neighbor that lives at 3203 Granny White Pike, which is 2 down. While I agree with Attorney Lamb that she has driven by and seen it, you don't understand the alleyways until you live there. We have a current build next to us that is providing a lot of congestion in the alley. My fear is adding 4 more to that alley is going to encroach on the neighbor behind them when they have to turn in. I also feel like I almost would rather push it to Granny White. People say they want to stay in line with the current homes the way they are. They're not current homes. They're all out of space. If you've driven down Granny White and you've seen the new builds, keeping them in line is really not of historical value anymore. I also want the panel that was here before to be honest and transparent. And I don't know if the board knows, but there were other letters submitted from the neighborhood in opposition. Is that correct?
We have those.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have those.
I was told there was no other letters submitted.
I believe we have those. I think I saw.
How many letters did we have submitted in opposition?
Let me check. Well, I see one. I'm sorry, I just lost my computer.
Okay. So I think we understand that we've heard some varying information from the group. I know it is a very valuable property. I live there. I know this. The view is beautiful. I don't mind the porches. I don't mind that setback. Again, like I said, I would push it all the way to Granny White if we could. It's the problem with the parking in the back, and the parking on the side streets when we go to turn out. It gets very crowded at our farmers markets, and cars have been hit, pedestrians have been hit, animals have been hit. So I do agree that a smaller footprint would be nice, but I know that it is zoned for this type of build. So anyway, I just wanted to give my comments on that, being a resident that lives right there in the midst of all of this.
And so your concern is that you're going to have too many cars in the back? Is that basically what I'm hearing coming in through the alley because of the?
Well,
You're
I
not
just.
really concerned with the front setback.
No, and I agree with the porches. I just think that it needs to be viewed because we're having that problem next door with me where 8 cars are going to come out of a space that was normally 2 cars, if that. The current house has no driveway. And it would be nice to have the cars off of the side streets. But I do feel like I wanted to show transparency, that it's not just a new build, that there are other factors to consider as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and folks here, I apologize. I had an email from Councilman Cash that came in after I made it. Mr. Chairman, I did pass along, I think, to the applicants about another email.
So you also have 6 minutes left, sir. Are you here to speak or? Okay. If you'll state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Stephen Schaller. I own the property directly to the north of the property in question here. And I'm speaking not in opposition directly to it, just raising some questions, but there are serious questions that have been raised by my neighbors here. Among them, the mention of the ongoing and very delightful farmers market across the street. You know, one of the reasons that they changed all the signage on Ferguson was because of the accidents that were happening at the corner of Ferguson and Granny White. The extension of the house further into that area is not going to make that area easier or safer for pedestrians or for automobiles. You'll note that the city did actually extend the length of distance where you could or could not park on Ferguson. It was directly the result of the accidents and the farmers market. The trees that you have on the property there, I'm curious, did anybody mention the, not the hackberries, the dogwood in the front? Are those going? They seem to be in line with what the extension of the house would be to remove the 2 dogwood trees there. The hackberry in the back has trouble. There's a walnut in the corner there too. Is that going? No one's answered any of these questions.
Yeah, and I can't answer that.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I have a site plan, but there are 2 trees on it, but
Okay, and it was the walnut that was pushing up the alley. The crews were out the past couple of days scraping down the alley to try to reset it. So that's going on right now. No, my opposition to the extension here is that it's just going to be an ugly house that they're going to put up there. I'm sorry, I've been in the neighborhood since 1986 in various areas and around here, and I don't understand why they didn't design the patio. There's a patio off to the side on the Ferguson side of this house. That would have been a perfect place. Turn the houses around a little bit so you could take advantage of that. That's what people always did. Nobody's going to sit on a porch facing Granny White. I'm sorry. I've lived in the house to the north of this house. I had one tenant who actually sat on the porch in front there. It's too noisy. It's too dirty. And it's not going to be a place where people are going to have a living experience that's pleasant.
okay, any questions? Okay, y'all still have 4 minutes left, but if you're done, that's fine too.
I'll just point out to Mr. Lawless that loves trees, the maple is beautiful. I can see it from my property 2 doors down south, and it's one of my favorite trees to see in the fall every year.
I would, I would just add that I'm still not clear what makes this exceptional topography. You can see from the view right here that it's a pretty flat lot, a lot flatter than all of the neighboring lots. And in fact, the developer said he would only have like a 4-foot difference going across. So I think by granting this variance should really be giving the appellant a right that none of the other property owners have received.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you three. Okay, so we'll hear back from the applicant again that has, I believe, 4 minutes and something left. So thank y'all. Opposition.
Thank you. I'm going to try to answer some of the concerns I heard raised. We're keeping the maple, we're keeping the dogwoods. We are certainly agreeable to a restriction that the construction entrance and parking must be on Ferguson instead of within the alley. I am always honest and transparent. I did not receive the letters. I have no access to the BZA website or the BZA email address. I am assuming the neighbors in opposition emailed the email address that comes directly to y'all. I was not copied on that. My clients were not copied on that. So we had no new. This morning, about 11:45, I received a phone call from Councilmember Cash letting us know that he had heard from some neighbors. That was the first I heard from opposition. In fact, I addressed one of the members of one of the neighbors in opposition prior to the meeting because I knew that she was here in opposition. So it was our first chance to try to speak to her. Let's see. We can build these 2 homes regardless of the porch. In terms of overbuilding it, we can build by right the homes without the porch. So we are just simply trying to add this livable porch to the front. We believe the porches would be in context with the neighborhood because many of them do have porches. And also, it's just the challenging, I don't believe I said extraordinary topography. I believe I said challenging elevations because they are somewhat challenging. So that was another thing I wanted to address.
Can you talk with us a little bit more about that? Because that's where they're coming at you pretty strongly.
Sure. Well, I mean,
there's not a topography issue, and it's
not a flat lot. The pictures don't do it justice. There are some slight topography issues back there. It is not a extraordinary topographical issue, but it is not a straight flat lot. So there is going to be some adjustments that we have to deal with there based on the topography that's back there.
would you say it rises to the level of a hardship?
I would say that it is some challenging topography that is physically tied to the land, that's the hardship we're going to rely on.
Okay.
And I would also like to say that we're keeping, again, with these garages that are going to allow us the alley access, we are keeping approximately up to 8 cars off of the streets for the farmers market, for the neighbors, for all of that. That's going to keep that off the alley. It's going to keep it off of Ferguson. So I think we're promoting the safety of the neighborhood with this request. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, like I said, we are trying to sit within that setback that was given to us. I mean, like I said, because of the amount of investment involved in sort of putting something like this together, we designed 2 houses that we can permit by right tomorrow with terraces in front. And I wasn't going to take my client, through a whole design process to get you these drawings that we have today without a backup plan that allowed us to keep moving forward. So that's really what we give up.
Okay, questions from the board?
How many?
Going once, going twice. Okay.
How many square feet are the porches?
I think
Ballpark me. I'm not asking it. I'm not going to come in and say, oh, I'm going to go get a ruler and you're a half a foot off or something.
they're 14 foot deep, and I think they're 15 feet wide. And they're masonry porches. We wanted to give them because they're big porches, we wanted to give them some beef. So we've got these brick columns, which really kind of constricts. The amount of usable space in these porches is really closer to sort of 12 and a half feet by 13. But we wanted the masonry because we thought it added some weight on the street facade, like a lot of porches in the neighborhood have sort of masonry porches.
Okay, and so that you're also providing the area on the second floor? That they
Yes,
can
that's
sit
more
out
open.
there and
Yes, that's
There
off,
in the
that's off the primary suite, actually. It's more of a sleeping porch configuration on the upper level.
Any,
Just one
Robert,
quick,
you have
you
a
said,
question?
you know, obviously if it doesn't go how you want, you said you would just leave them open terraces is what you said? So just another word for just a patio? Exactly.
And we do something nice with them, but that's, that's that would be the backup plan.
anybody else? Mr. Cullen? I keep looking left. I forget you're over there. You're by yourself. So sorry about that.
It's so quiet.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and discuss. So thank y'all. Thank to the applicant and the opposition. And we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, I love the idea of the living porch outside. I think it's a great concept. It's just, I'm also a big believer in the contextual street setback. And this is quite a bit of a variance from the contextual street setback. In my opinion, I would allow the front of the porch to be in the same line where the existing home is.
You allow the bill,
You'd
but
be
push
taking
the porch
14
into
feet.
Yeah, push the porch back into where the line of the
Yeah,
existing
9 feet's still
home.
pretty decent.
It'd be a
size.
smaller porch,
You
but
won't be able to use it.
it'd still be a porch, and I think it would be usable. I just struggle with the idea of, we're getting pretty far away from the contextual street setback, and the home next door will be pretty far behind. And that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally in agreement. I mean, the current house that's there right now, it is obviously set to 38.5, but that is the side of the house. The front of the house faces Ferguson. So I think getting a variance to the current setback for the porch structure. I mean, these are pretty heavy. They're 2 stories, a lot of masonry. I think even still with a 9-foot porch, you still could accomplish a lot, and you are getting away from the contextual street setback, especially on Granny White. So, I mean, I understand what the developer and builder's trying to do. They don't have a backyard. They have an attached garage, so they want to have a place for people to use outdoor space. And to respond to one of the neighbors, I mean, I think some people that don't have a backyard, they end up putting a fence in the front, using the front a little bit more so. But I do worry about it not only going 14 feet beyond the contextual setback, but being a 2-story kind of heavy structure from a building standpoint.
So you are okay with the porch extending to where the current house is, along with this carpet? Is that your?
I would be okay with something like that. Yeah. I mean, it's this extends. Contextual setback is actually 10 feet, or roughly 10 feet or 10 feet further back than the current one, and this extends 4 feet beyond what's currently there. And it's 2 stories. The current structure now is a 1-story. It's a large massing, both in height. And I'm pro density and pro porch, but there also has to be some beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I don't want to argue architecturally one way or the other. But yeah, I'm kind of aligned with you.
Architects are all on the same page. I have the same sentiments as you two. And I'm a bit apprehensive to suggest shifting the house backwards. If we can get the cars off the street and into the driveway and into the garage, I think it's better for just safety overall.
So are the architects going to make a motion?
I sort of was thinking and heard that too.
Okay, I will move to approve a variance request that the front porches be allowed to be set back. I think it says 38, I can't read, 38.5 feet
Yeah. Well, it's just
from the property line.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any
Get rid
further?
of the hackberry and give me some of the trees.
Are you, okay. Serious amendment or
No.
suggestion?
It's suggestion.
Okay, suggestion, okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that passes with the, okay, thank you all. Yeah, if we could take a 5-minute break.
Okay, the board will be in recess for the tape. The board is now back in session. The next case before the board will be case 2023-97. Mr. Steve Watson, the appellant. The owners in common of homes at Myrtle and Smiley are the owners of the property at 910, 912, and 914 Smiley Street, requesting a special exception in the RM20 UZO district to construct 3 additional units to the existing multifamily development. The appellants are present. Any opposition present to case 97?
Any opposition to this case?
Case 97, seeing none, sir. Sir, you'll have 5 minutes. You saw how we did the last cases. Let me go over for the board the presentation on my end.
Thank you, Mr. Hargis, and thank you, Board. My name is Steve Fry. I'm actually representing 212 Myrtle Street, which is...
I'm sorry, Mr. Fry, 1 second.
Yeah, he's going to go over.
Let me go through our case
He's going to go
first.
over
I'm trying to get
before you
the
start.
screen to return. Let's see here. Maybe. There we go. Good. Sorry, I had to restart the presentation to get that synced.
Sure.
And case 97. Okay. The subject property is located at the intersection of Smiley and Myrtle Streets, again in the RM20 zone district. The subject lot is located here on this intersection. The request is to add these units to the rear of the subject property. And the request before you is a special exception in street setback. When we go from when we go from a single family unit to multifamily, which in our zoning code means 3 or more units on a lot, different setbacks apply to the street setbacks. They actually change from what would have been required for an existing corner lot street of 10 feet along Smiley. That setback in this zone district now becomes, I believe that's 20 feet. Double check my book. I'll circle back to that. This is an aerial of the subject property you've seen in that neighborhood. We've had some recent redevelopment. Both the properties across the alley where my cursor is and the lot 2 houses down. And again, kind of to the southwest, or it could be northwest in this property. View of the subject property here, the existing resident that's on the lot on the bottom of the slide. A view along the alley. The new units would be sitting just to the left of the alley here where my pointer's highlighting. And then a view of development just across the alley. This particular development of interest of note and kind of changes between zoning administrators, John Michael and myself. The application of the setbacks were done somewhat differently under his tenure. He would have treated those more like single family residences and permitted a 10-foot setback along Myrtle, even though there were more than 3 on the lot. Under the building code, they were built more in a single family style. The application that we use is kind of reverting back to the traditional, looking at it as a whole rather than the thing. So part of this variance request comes a little bit out of interpretation from our office and the application of it. In this case, in the site plan showing the existing residence, his request is essentially to line up with what would be allowed of a 10-foot setback along Smiley Street with a parking area along the alley. And that would be more in keeping with these structures to the north or west. That's our case record. Just I want to explain that and give you a little bit of perspective, at least from the application side on our end. We try to do some uniformity in the zoning code and be consistent. It's just a change. I'm kind of reverting back to Mr. West's, Sonny West's application of the zoning code. So if you wondered, I didn't want you guys to see like, wait, how did those get built at what he's wanting? That's sort of what happened in the timeline of events. So that's case records. We have it, sir. If you would state your name again, you have no opposition present, and you'll have 5 minutes to present your testimony to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Hargis, and thank you, board. My name is Steve Fry. I'm here representing 212 Smiley Street, the rear of the property, which has been reclassified as 910, 912, and 914 Smiley Street.
And can you state your address for the record, please, sir?
Oh, yeah, home address?
That's fine.
Yeah, 2416 Melbourne Drive, Nashville 37214.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Representing those properties, we've had that drawn up, and we're just basically trying to have the same setbacks as the properties also to the left of us, which was 902 through 906 Smiley Street. And then one block up, which was 814, 18 Smiley Street, had those same, that's at the top of this aerial. You go back to the left, and that's 814, 818. But 902 to 906 is what she's got, they got highlighting there. So we're just asking for the same setbacks to align up to the similar type of development that we're looking for. As he mentioned, parking will be off the alleyway. There's street parking there as well, of course, but we have a parking pad designed off the alleyway right there on the corner.
Any questions? Are you done with your?
Yeah, I am. Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
Sure. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, well, there are no questions, so we'll close the public hearing and discuss. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is a special exception, not a variance request. So, and there are a couple letters from neighbors that I think, oppose it, but I don't, I haven't, in reading those, I didn't see anything that made me think that it devalued the neighboring properties or, so those are my thoughts. I'd welcome anyone else's.
The planning department recommended approval as well.
They did, and I don't think there are any conditions either. I think they just recommended approval, yes. Okay, Mr. Ransom has his light on. Do you have a question, or you? Or have a point to make? I should say.
Probably both.
Probably, maybe both.
I mean, I had one quick question just on, how much parking does this allow? What's the height of these proposed units? But
Is that for the applicant or?
That's for the applicant.
Okay, so
Yeah. So we have to
anybody
back up.
object to us reopening the public hearing? Okay, so there's a question for you here.
Sure. Yeah. The amount of parking and the parking pad. Yeah.
The amount of parking and what's the proposed height of these structures?
The height of the structures. Steve Watson, I might have to get you to fill in on that one. Yeah. So this is my builder for the property, Steve Watson. He's the one who originally applied for the variance.
Yes, I'm Steve Watson. I can give you my address for the record. It's 100 West Mill Drive. I am the contractor. Oh, okay.
Yes, that one.
There you go. All right, Steve Watson, 100 West Mill Drive. I am the contractor for I'm the owner of Skymont Building Group, and I need stronger reading glasses too, apparently. We have a proposed height of 39 feet, 5 inches, 13/16 on the elevation.
That 39 feet to the top of the roof.
Yes, yes, sir.
And then how many cars would that parking pad accommodate? It looks like 3.
This would provide parking for a minimum of 3 cars on the parking, the on-property parking, and then we would have, we could install parking pads on the Smiley Street that would accommodate 3 cars as well.
Yeah, just. Right. Okay, thank you. Those are my 2
Okay,
questions.
we'll close the public hearing. Thank you. Back to discussion.
Say it's also zoned for multifamily, and it's contextual on the setback that's being required.
And that area of Smiley Street almost plays as an alley compared to most of the houses across the street.
I'll make a motion that we approve it. The special exception. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, we got 2 opposed. Did you vote for? Okay, so that passes 4-2. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next case, the board will hear is case 2023-102, Alex Crawls, the appellant, Raymond and Mary Uford, the owners of the property at 135 Kingston Street, requesting a variance to all the parking to be within the public right of way. I'll explain that here in just a minute. In RS5 zoning, the appellant is seeking to construct a new single-family residence. The subject property is located here on the north side of Kingston Street. Kingston takes I guess dead end, it's not really the right term. Kingston ends here and then takes a 90-degree turn south that becomes Indiana Avenue, or a view of the aerial photograph. This is the subject property in question. There currently exists a residence on the property now. As you know, you may note, and your eyes may pick up turn on my laser pointer here. This pretty heavy tree line running right through here. That denotes there's actually a creek that runs through the site, and a view of the different stormwater layers. This house that currently sits here is non-conforming to the current flood regulations. This house was damaged during the 2010 floods. And the request is to take that structure down, build a new one back on site. What is going to occur is, I believe there's a stormwater hearing that's going to occur after the BZA's actions to deal with construction in the floodway buffer. I just give that to you just for, sort of paint the entire picture here. Looking at the subject site, this particular site zoned RS5, you see the existing residence as it sits there. And the request in this case is not so much the setback that's the issue for us. It is the home that's been demolished and they're wishing to put back. The zoning code requires that you have 2 parking spaces on the subject property for single-family land uses. And what the proposal, as you'll see, is to turn the home on the site to get it completely out of the 50-foot floodway buffer of Zone 1, which stormwater will not allow you to build in. This application of this law is new, post-2010 flood. But the parking pad that you see that they're proposing out here is in the city's right of way. So from the zoning code standpoint, they're not providing any on-site parking. Physically, is there space to make that happen? There is, from the existing pavement to the house, and you see sort of a little parking pad that's here, but this is actually in the city right of way. So unfortunately, I can't count it under the zoning code, and that's the request that's before you is essentially a parking variance to grant 2 spaces off-site. They are seeking the board's approval to park in the right of way. That's not something really before you. So what is before you is a straight parking variance to not provide on-site parking. With the hardship that they're demonstrating to you is clearly that 90% of this lot's unbuildable, but for where they're putting the residents. They are going to have some pervious pavers and a parking area that is on their parcel right here. It's just not deep enough for me to count under the zoning code. And the next slide kind of shows roughly their parking area. That's here. So everything along that dark dashed line to the south is actually in city right of way. The actual pavement itself, as you see, is at the bottom of the drawing here. So I've got, as you see in a lot of places in Nashville, I've got some area that's grass out there that doesn't belong to the owner.
So this is public right-of-way property they want to park in, correct?
Correct. And the request, it may be framed in your agenda to allow parking in the right of way. It's really not under your purview. You would have to treat it as a straight variance, and then they would deal with NDOT on getting permission to be in that space. But NDOT won't grant them permission until they come here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of cart horse, they had to come here first to seek a variance and then take that variance to NDOT to get some permission to be in the city right away.
Okay, that makes it clear, because I was wondering how we had authority to allow the use of public property through a variance, but
Yes, sir.
makes sense.
No, can't do that. But that's essentially what's in front of you is a straight parking variance for 2 spaces on the lot. Any opposition present case 102? Mr. Chairman, I see no hands, sir. Mr. Carl, I presume you have 5 minutes to present your testimony to the board. And if you'll identify yourself and address, please, sir.
Thank you. Alex Crawl, 610 Basswood Avenue. Thank you for that introduction, Mr. Joey. Spot on. I believe we have been to the BZA one time back in March to get a front setback and a side setback variance that has been granted. And we have been to 3 stormwater management committee meetings in order to make this house that you see proposed in front of you, which is a 2-story dwelling with 1 bedroom and 1.5 bathrooms, about 800 square feet. This is the best of the situation that the previous owners had been dealt. They had owned a duplex previously, which has been torn down minus the foundation, which is still intact. There were parking pads on the left and the right previously in the right of way. And you could see the remnants of that from there. And yes, like Mr. Joey was saying, we sent this after we got our stormwater variances and after we got our setback variances, and NDOT came back and said, you need to get a variance to park. They understood that doing a garage and having a three-story, we're already elevating this home several feet higher. It's actually completely out of the flood zone, but in an effort to further the stormwater remediation, we're elevating it higher, so it will have about a 4-foot crawl space in order to basically function. We had to 45-degree angle this house, which really, if you're coming down Sultana Avenue, the road does 90 degrees, so it almost aesthetically works if you're coming from Sultana. But there just is not enough room to park and encroach those streamway buffers that stormwater has enforced. There would be plenty of parking on the right-hand side, but all of that is stream buffer that we can't even mow or maintain. So we're seeking a variance. Basically, we widened our driveway approach, and we're wanting to use our driveway approach as a parking pad.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you. Well, it's not hard to see the hardship. So That's pretty vivid. I don't think it's a stretch to call it hardship. That's kind of my thought. And, I mean, if NDOT's okay with this, makes perfect sense to me, but,
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance due to the extreme hardship.
Second.
And the flood zone.
there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. That passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, the next time I give a CLE or teach a class to a zoning board, I'm going to steal this slide and go, hey, here's what a hardship looks like for sure.
Quintessential definition.
Okay, our next case. 106. Next case will be case 2023-106. Mr. John Cooper is the appellant. Patterson Street LP, the owner of the property located at 310 17th Avenue North and 1641 and 1643 Patterson Street. And Patterson Street unnumbered, requesting a special exception and height provisions in the MUIA UZO zone district, seeking to construct a new multifamily development referred to the board under section 1712-060F. The appellants, I see you're present. Are there any parties present opposed to case 106? Okay, seeing none, gentlemen, you'll have 5 minutes after my portion, so let me go through the slides real quickly. The subject properties here are the 4 parcels located at the southwest intersection of 17th Avenue and Patterson Street. See, kind of, I guess that's Midtown. And a street called Barbecue Alley, which I didn't know existed. Again, the subject lot, these parcels located right here at the intersection. View of the subject site, looking east toward downtown. A bit to the northeast, and again circling the intersection across the street. Again, this is a request for a special exception for the height control provisions in the UZO. This is the rendering of the applicant's proposal, and to give you some breakdown of the overall ground floor proposed uses here, ground floor surface, retail uses, use of plaza area, some recessed plazas at the zoning code allows for and encourages for the site along 3 sides of the parcel and then here at the rear. So it's good to, we met with the applicants early on with this, and as part of the special exception for height, the applicant's required to demonstrate by light, shadow, air, wind, that the proposed height is not adversely affecting the properties, and also promotes a strong pedestrian-friendly streetscape. Breakdown of the special exception request for you. The red line, which is hopefully highlighting in my extremely steady fingers. My mom, I definitely couldn't be a surgeon, but that's what the zoning code permits. It's this area above, which is the special exception on the height plane. And the applicants will talk a little bit about the massing of the structure, kind of consolidating that extra height toward the middle of the building. But you do, I believe, have recommendation from the planning department. And if I recall, I believe we got some correspondence from the council member. Don't quote me on that. I think I remember talking to now Mayor-elect Freddie O'Connell before his election. So that's our case. Mr. Cooper, I'm happy to go to any slide you wish me to. During the presentation, you'll have 5 minutes to present your case to the board.
Thank you. Mr. Hargis, is it okay if I address the variance at the same time? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I did leave that off your agenda. There's a variance request. Let me address it too a little bit. There's a variance request which we amended the request to deal with the under the zoning code. It says that all access shall be from the alley for both that into the site. In this particular request, we're going to look at a text change with the new council to sort of tweak that a little bit, and especially for delivery trucks and access off the public streets. Some of these alleys, especially in the Midtown area, are quite tight, and you're even your full box size vans have trouble navigating. So I think we're going to look at a text tweet on this, but there will be the variance portion of that Mr. Cooper's going to cover. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm John Cooper with the law firm Holland & Knight, 511 Union Street. I'm here on behalf of M2 Development Partners. With me, we have Ed Tinsley and Mike Large with M2, as well as Jay Fulmer, the civil engineer on the project. We are requesting a 24-foot height special exception. We will stay in keeping with the 15 stories permitted under the zoning code. But the zoning code does provide 15 stories in 150 feet, and this project is going to be 24 feet taller than that. This is a 120-unit mixed-use development located on 0.78 acres, currently zoned MUIA, which does allow 15 stories. Due to a sewer easement that cuts off the corner of a property, as well as some design elements that we can discuss to make the building function. We need this additional 24 feet of height. This will house the community space for the development, as well as a mechanical and electrical room, totaling 7,400 square feet. Mr. Hargis has shown you the elevation showing the additional height above the red hatched line. I submitted a letter dated August 3rd that goes into some detail explaining the rationale for granting the special exception, but just to summarize that, this clearly meets the criteria set forth in the code. There's no adverse impact on air, light, shadow, or wind velocity. All shade from the additional height will be internal to the project. So you did see the full shade document, but the portion that's above what is permitted by right will only shade internally. It's also consistent with other projects in Midtown area that have been approved. The Reed property has several towers, 35 stories, 39 stories, a couple blocks from this property. The planning department has recommended approval. They initially had a condition that the access be taken from the alley, but that has been determined that it's unworkable, which I'll get into on the variance request. And both planning and NDOT have agreed to remove that condition. Moving on to the variance, as Mr. Hargis said, the zoning code currently provides that if there is an improved alley, the access must be taken from that alley. There is an alley. It's questionable whether it's improved. It is very narrow. The alley is only 12 feet wide. NDOT standard width for alley is 20 feet. So it would be basically impossible to enter the property off the alley. In addition, the grade of the alley would result in a slope for the driveway of 27%, which exceeds NDOT's standards. There are also NES utility poles along the alleyway that would have to be navigated. This alley has been in place for many, many years, and the zoning provision that we're seeking a variance for went into effect in 2021. So we believe that we have met all of the requirements for showing the hardship associated with the alley. It would be too dangerous to attempt to take access off the alley. And again, both NDOT and planning staff have approved the access from 17th Avenue. We've received no objection from anyone. We held a community meeting. We did not have anyone other than the team attend. And so we request your support of both the height special exception and alley access variance. And I'll turn it over to, if you want to introduce.
Be happy to. My name is Edward Tinsley. My address is 1519 Woodland Street. I'm Executive Vice President of M2 Development Partners. Really, I think with respect, and my colleague here, Mike Large, can speak to the variance for the alley, but with respect to the height exception that we're seeking, part of one of the major benefits of it is that it it enhances the activation of the street level space, the retail space, rather than having to place the community center down there or sort of amenities for the buildings. We can really utilize that space for retail and public pedestrian use. In addition to that, it allows us to raise the ceiling height from your sort of standard 9-10 foot ceiling of that, and really create sort of a wow factor as you're walking by the building, whether you're utilizing it as a restaurant or whatever retail shops ultimately go in there. So I think this not only does we believe it, doesn't sort of from the shade standpoint affect any of the neighbors, et cetera, but it really does enhance the street level view of the building. So I think that's it. And as far as the workability of
The alley was mentioned.
Sir, if you could, state your name.
Michael Large, 121 Steeplechase Lane, Nashville.
All right, thank you.
As far as the alley goes, the alley, as mentioned, is only 12 feet wide. We're going to add an additional 5 feet to that to allow for that back parking area to be more comfortable. There's 4 power poles, NES power poles in there. The alley actually dead ends at Barbecue Alley that was mentioned before. The original plan that we looked at was entering in off the alley. It created a 27% grade. We've got 3 levels of parking below grade, which was just, you can imagine going down a 27% grade on an icy morning. It just didn't work. We approached NDOT. 17th was a much better, much safer location, not only for residents, but also pedestrians along the roadway.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Cooper, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You may have some questions. I think you probably do.
I do. On the plans, I couldn't see, is there a security gate that prevents access to the garage? And if so,
Yes, there is. There's an arm with signage to caution pedestrians that are coming up in and out up along 17th that a car is approaching.
I'm worried about queuing off of the street because I think maybe the thought having garage entries off of alleys could be that people could queue in the alley and not prevent other cars on the main streets. So is your gate set back from the street a bit so cars can queue in there? Queue inside the building instead of on the street?
Yes. We met with NDOT for over several meetings, several hours, and we complied with their recommendation, our traffic consultants' recommendations. So yes, all of that has been taken into consideration.
I just didn't see where the gate was on the plan.
Yeah, it's there.
It's there and it's inside the building, so.
Inside the full full car length to queue
Okay.
down or up. And it's terraced so that it creates a comfortable place to park going in or out of that gated entry.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and discuss.
I just had one quick question.
Ransom has one.
If you weren't granted this additional height, I mean, am I reading it correctly? You'd lose about 3 entire floors, is what it looks like, since you brought it down.
As the site guy, I'm gonna hope I answer this all correctly, but a lot of it, we have thickened slabs in between each floor. So we could go back and try to re-engineer them to get them down a little bit.
Maybe lose head height or something.
We could lose some head height. I mean, for a special exception and an increase in height, you're supposed to have enhanced architecture and pedestrian environment. And we've met all those metrics. And so, of course, there's no variance for extra head height, but we're not asking for anything tied to a hardship. It's more the special exception and enhanced architecture.
Right.
Okay. And it's kind of funny that this would be a massive project 10 years ago in this neighborhood, and now we're the peanut unless we rezone to SP. All these 25 to 30 story buildings are just a couple blocks away. There's I don't know, it's crazy, the change of the neighborhood.
Okay, I think that's probably all the questions. We'll close the public hearing and discuss.
Well, they're sticking to the 15 stories, which is allowed by code, by the special exception. I don't know. I don't think the extra height is going to have a negative effect on the neighboring properties any more so than it would be 24 feet lower.
I don't think so either. What's that?
I hate to be waiting in traffic.
That's why I was concerned about.
Downtown is just after right now.
Yeah, I'd prefer the parking to be from the alley, but if the alley doesn't work, the alley doesn't work. I mean, that's really not on them. It's so narrow, so.
They said NDOT, it's gone through all the necessary traffic studies and everything else.
Well, so we have a special exception and a variance, and the standard are different. So I do think there's a hardship in the alley that justifies the variance, and I agree that, with you, I don't think the additional height, there's no evidence before us that's gonna have a negative effect on any surrounding properties, and nobody's objected to this, so I'll make a motion that we approve both with the variance based on the hardship of the alley being too narrow, and then we approve the special exception.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, so it passes. Mr. Cole, did you vote for it? Okay, so it passes 5-1. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
All right, next case.
All right, our next case, case 2023-107. Mr. John Michael is the appellant. PMC LLC, the owner of the property at 503 Spruce Street, requesting a variance in the setback requirements in OR 20 and the EZO to construct an addition to the existing building. I know the applicants are present. I can tell you there is no opposition because the only people sitting in the audience are the next case. So, I'll reset the clock and we'll get started here. Make sure I've got the right screen. I do. Okay. The subject property here is located at the corner of Spruce Street. It's in the OR 20 zone district, property bound in red. Again, this is the subject property. Members, I think originally there may have been a variance request on here for a setback variance along the northern property boundary line for some stairwells that led out from the second floor on this site. And I withdrew those. The zoning code actually permitted what they sought. But what is before you will be the setback variance along the western property line, which is the alley to the west. And it's a rear setback variance back here. View of the subject property is the existing building. They're going to put an addition on this structure, and the variance request would be back along this rear property line. Again, the floor plans and site plan encapsulated in one. The variance request here, I will endeavor to get you. The 20-foot rear setback is located where my highlighter line is here, and it's a portion of this the first floor building and a small punch-out balcony on the second floor that penetrates that rear setback just over top of a loading area that they've got here. This dumpster enclosure slash generator is a permitted setback obstruction. So this part is not before you guys. It'll be this portion of the building here and this projection on floor 2. That is the case records. We have it. Gentlemen, if you would please state your names for the record. You'll have 5 minutes to present your testimony to the board.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board. My name is Josh Lee with the Thompson Burton Law Firm at 1801 West End. And I've got our architect on the case, Mr. Leslie Beeman as well, with Manuel Zeitlin. Pardon me. And actually, just to clarify for just a moment, the hashed mark in the photograph that you're looking at is the existing building. So the only request is for that very top portion on the sort of northwest for the proposed addition. So this is a very modest rear setback request, approximately 5.6 feet into the 20-foot setback there. So that leaves still 14.4 feet on the setback to that alley. That's the only request, as Mr. Hargis went through. No other variances are required for this expansion. It's a medical office, so it's a very minor addition onto the office itself. We've submitted a letter with some additional details, but to summarize that, we've got an additional procedure room, exam room, another bathroom for the facility that's up to the latest specifications for disability accessibility. We have, through the work of the architect on this project, worked really hard to minimize the intrusion into the setback to get it to this level. The applicant's position here is we do have a hardship based on the irregular shaped lot. It is very narrow in the back of the lot. Additionally, it backs up to that alley. My client also owns the property to the west across from the alley, but obviously with Metro's right-of-way, that's not a usable space for the addition. We do not believe there's any injury to any of the neighboring properties. In fact, again, my client owns the property to the west there that would be closest to this. And so based on that, we've spoken with the council member, have not received any opposition, so we don't believe there's any injury. So we would respectfully submit that we meet the requirements under Metro Code 1740-370. Glad to answer any questions.
Questions?
Just out of curiosity, I can't tell, I mean, this is an addition, but is there any connection between this current addition and the existing structure? Or this would be kind of standalone, although it'd be technically attached to it? Like, essentially, can you enter this new reception room and then go into the current building?
My name's Leslie Beeman. I'm with Manuel Zeitlin Architects, 115 Hagen, 516 Hagen Street, Suite 100. I'll figure out where I am here in a minute. It's connected. It's the same business. There is a connection through to one of the existing procedure rooms that they will be using sort of in tandem with the existing plastic surgery office.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll close and there is no opposition, so we'll close the public hearing and discuss.
I mean, it's in context with the buildings there now. The second floor, balcony. I don't have an issue with that, but it's my comment.
And do you find a hardship in the shape of the lot too?
I do.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Well, motion or?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve and a second, based on the hardship of the shape of the lot, I'm assuming.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so, motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank y'all. All right, last case. I believe.
Okay.
It's our last case.
All right, members of the board, last case before you, case 2022-125. This comes back to this board. It's captioned as a request to rescind an order from a previously granted variance request in the favor of Anna Hill Sitzler and her husband Kyle. The owners of the property are present, along with John Rankin, their builder. This case was at 135 46th Avenue. Just to recap a little bit why it's back here. The original case came before the board as an addition to a non-conforming structure and a variance request. This was the residence that was on the property, and the nature of the request at that time was to put an addition. I'll pull up the site plans. I'll do my best to on another screen, but The board approved a 20-foot street setback off of 46 for an addition to come out on the left-hand side of this, as well as an addition off the rear of the property. What was non-conforming about the property was twofold. One was the street setback off of 46 was slightly inside the 40-foot requirement, but where it was most non-conforming was along the alley. It essentially sat at the alley, and they were proposing an addition off the rear to continue that line. And I won't take away from the Sitzler's time, but long story short, I met with the parties at the table here a few days back to kind of explain, hear from them, hey, what happened? We did issue a demolition permit to take the structure down. The structure was in great disrepair, and I told them at the time, and unbeknownst to them, probably the best path for them would have been to come back to this board and say, hey, look, here's what we discovered. We really want to seek to knock this house down and build back what you approved in the same location. But unfortunately, we can't keep the structure. They were unaware that was probably the best way to do it. And I don't fault them for that. I don't expect them to know the nuances of zoning code, but in hindsight, that was probably the best staff. So really what's before you now is the structure's gone. They do intend to put back in the footprint of what was there. They have submitted, and I'll pass around to you, an exhibit showing the board's prior order, the site plan, and then their proposed structure here. A little guidance I guess I'll need from you, Ann, I apologize, sort of hit you cold with this, is if the board is okay with essentially they're putting back in the same footprint location what was going to be built, just minus the existing, the old structure, then great, we'll amend the permit accordingly and issue it. But I need a little guidance from this board to sort of discuss, well, yeah, that's okay. Or if they say, well, we really need to sort of look at it anew, then we'll need to reset this hearing for another public hearing to meet the notice requirements, which would probably be the October 19th hearing to get the notices out to the neighbors, which we would take care of as part of that requirement. So really more seeking bringing it back to either rescind the order, which I think from my point of view, that the prior order sort of moot because it was a little bit predicated on the existing house that you saw there was there, but kind of given their unique circumstances, it was like, okay, I kind of understand where you come from there. So I guess I'm sort of in a way seeking, one, to give these folks an opportunity to kind of explain what happened, but B, sort of your direction to me as staff is, hey, we're fine with letting the permit proceed, or hey, we really should look at this again. So I'm going to pass those around to you. I do have an email from Mr. Rankin that shows the drawings that I will put up on the screen here. I just did not have time to get them incorporated into the PowerPoint. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anna, why don't I speak first?
Okay.
My name is John Rankin, 1709 Woodland Street. I've known the Sitzlers for a while. I know Anna's father. And they were, if you notice the sign up there, they were attempting to do this on their own, themselves, a self-permit. And at some point it got too complicated. So a few weeks ago, they asked me to get involved. And that's why I'm here. And so instead of doing it themselves, they hired me as a contractor to try to come in and try to figure out where to go and how to proceed. They have multiple easements in the backyard. Some are for overhead power lines, some are for sewer services where people thought the service was in the easement. It was not. It was over a little further. So I've come in really as their contractor at this point to try to help them go forward given what they found in that house. That house was a carriage house. It was the garage for 4600 Nebraska and had been makeshifted into a house. When they got into it, they were trying to do like a TV program where you get your helmet on and your ladder, and they got into it, and there was no insulation, there was no exterior walls, there was mold, there was termite damage, and so then they brought me and said, "Hey, we're in trouble here. Can you help us out?" So that's how I got involved, and I think we're here because I think I assure you we're all just trying to do the right thing and proceed forward in the right direction. And be very open and transparent and let you know what we saw and what we found and why we're here. But go ahead, Anna. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Anna Hale Sitzler, 135 46th Avenue North, Nashville, 37209. Thank you, Mr. Hargis and board. I know we've been here a very long time, but I really appreciate y'all hearing our case. So kind of to piggyback on what John said, just to catch you guys up, in addition to what Mr. Hargis said, but my husband and I were here at the BZA on August the 6th, 2022. The case, I have my notes here, 2022-125. So we were granted a 20-foot setback. And so I just wanted to help connect the dots on what happened since then. So we are asking to keep the 20-foot setback for our build moving forward. We obviously know that we maybe should have done that differently, but I think it was just purely ignorant. Actually, I know it was purely ignorant. I didn't know to do that, or I would have been here first thing. So I apologize for that. But what happened was the weekend of July 4th, 2023, we had the home gutted, and you can't see behind the walls until you gut it. And so the bones that we felt like were going to be great bones for the house, we were going to gut it, have new wiring. It was unsafe completely, all of that new wiring, and then do an addition. Well, once we got the walls opened up, there really was mold absolutely everywhere. I mean, the wood disintegrated in my hand. A screwdriver poked through the wall. It was what was supposed to be a stud. The whole back wall of the house, so 25% of the house was double bricked. There was no framing anyway. So it was in shambles. And I wanted to keep that house more than anything, if I could just tell you, but it wasn't possible. So, yep, there's the double brick. But it just was not possible. So and the mold. But we just decided to move forward. So we tried to do that in the correct way by getting the demolition permit approved and everything. And now here we are. And again, ignorance, wasn't sure that the setback wouldn't apply moving forward. So the only things that have changed in regard to the setback, there was 3 things that actually I think the board didn't love about us the last time we were here and the plan. The first one, I don't recall exactly who said it, but the first one, the existing home or garage, old garage, was going to be pretty far back compared to the 20-foot setback. So like the variance in that was pretty great. So one way we were able to fix that was by leveling up the front elevation. Moving forward. So you can see it's a little bit more in line there. It still does jet back a little bit, so it's not right on the setback, but that was one that we were able to fix that. The second was that it was closer to the alley, as Mr. Hargis pointed out. So we've moved it over slightly, so it's actually now further away than even the setback recommends. And then the garage is an additional, or not additional, but is 10 feet from the alley. And then thirdly, an issue with our house in general is that Sylvan Park uses street parking, but with us facing 46th Avenue, we weren't able to park on the street and we're not able to park in the alley. So our home literally had no parking. And so we have added parking there as a garage. So those are the 3 things that we actually were kind of able to make positive out of a very poor situation, or just sad situation. And we were able to rectify those things. So those are the differences mainly in the site plans before and after.
Thank you.
Can I say a few things? Kyle Sitzler and his husband, same address, 135 46th Avenue. And just to kind of piggyback off what she said there briefly is that we are operating in good faith. I know that it looked a little weird knocking the house down. And again, if we would have known that going from the beginning, we would have been back here. It would have been the first thing we were going to do. We are trying our best to keep this house within the character of the neighborhood. I know there's a lot of developers in Sylvan Park now that are not really adding any benefit to the existing character of the historical nature of the neighborhood. And that's one of the things we love. And then just the end goal is that we just want to have a house and live there. We've been living at our parents' now since July 4th, so coming up on 3 months, and there's been no progress, so we're getting a little impatient. But that's kind of where we're sitting now, and again, our end goal is just to kind of live in the neighborhood. Again, with the real estate environment right now and the interest rates, a lot of people are being forced to move out of the city that can't afford buying stuff in the city anymore. We were lucky enough to purchase this house back before prices got insanely out of control. And so this is our option to stay here.
Stay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions?
This may be less a question for you guys, but what's the current setback on 46 right now? Or what is it supposed to be, considering the old one was a carriage house? Do we know, is it 40 feet?
Yeah, well, the board approved a 20-foot setback off of 46, as this house is the only house in the block face.
Yeah, that's fine.
But the code would say 40 feet.
Code is, but
Yes, sir.
board's already previously, prior to me being here, approved 20.
Well, it was a different case. I feel like what we're hearing is a different case, because that was a non-conforming structure case, and this is a straight-up variance case. So I feel like what they're presenting is a different case, and we should rehear it.
I'll just jump in
Okay,
from a
let's-
legal
and we can
perspective. I
discuss that.
agree.
If anybody else have any questions, because we have to get to that question for sure. But does anybody else have questions for the applicant? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing, and you're right on point, Ms. Hargis said, we got to decide, does this have to be renoticed and go through the same process? And I think you're of the opinion that it should.
Yes, I was just letting my colleague know what the situation was, because I felt like you were going to ask a lot of questions that probably need to be at a different hearing.
Right.
That was just my take on it.
Sure, okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on it? And I think the first question we've got to answer is, do we proceed with voting on whether there's a hardship and we give a variance today, or do we?
Well, I guess
have the applicants go redo it? I kind of disagree with Ms. Carpenter on this one. I mean, I think they've given us a site plan. It's the same setback that we've already approved, and, I don't think we had any objection the first time. I remember this one because I remember is it an Auburn flag you have? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lawless remembered the Auburn flag.
I remember the flag. I thought it was a Florida flag, and I was going to really go.
Really be.
No,
Got a big problem with it this week.
But I mean, it is different. It was a non-conforming last time, and this time it is but I think it also is the same. It's the same variance that's, in my mind, it's the same variance that's being requested. So,
Yeah, the plans were different, and so there was only a portion of the house that was at the 20 feet setback, and the existing house was set back much further with a porch added. So this looks like everything is going to be 20 feet from the property line, which is different than what we saw the last case, and also not in line with the existing structure next to it. So I believe in the contextual street setback. I said that earlier. So to me, it's a different case.
Members, if I could.
so I don't see, looking at what they submitted last,
Hey, can I, before you get too far into that, Ross, I don't want to skew into, if we've got to redo this, then we need to redo it. And I apologize, kind of let the solicitors go a little further than I probably should have. I really need you all sort of narrow down. If this is a different case from your perspective, and the majority feels that way, then I'll re-advertise it. We'll have a new hearing. They'll put on testimony. We'll let the neighbors come, put on testimony if there is any. Mine was like, if you didn't feel, well, it's kind of the same case, go ahead and proceed with the permit that we already granted. That's kind of what I was looking for. I don't want to try this hardship case here. It's more of a, do you feel this is enough where I need to notice it? Let's do it over, or,
okay.
No, we're good. So we've kind of skewed a little bit off that. I just want to steer us back on to.
So you're saying you don't think we need to re-find a hardship?
No,
You
not
just wanna know
yet.
whether-
If you agree this is a new case, we need to re-advertise it. We're going to post signs. We're going to send out notices to neighbors. We're going to do this, give them an opportunity to talk. You did, so basically if the board agrees this is a new case, y'all are going to have to say what you said again. But you have the benefit of at least hearing the comments here. But to be fair to any opposition that might be there, if you do feel it's a new case, I need to re-advertise it. I just, in my years, I just didn't have anything that was quite like this. I'm like, I'm not sure what do we do with this thing, because I agree, setback is equal to the setback, but it was a little bit different case. So I bring it to you to sort of decide, hey, do we need to do it over, or are you comfortable with letting me proceed with the permit based off the first appeal?
So do we need a do-over?
I'm going to sort of lean on counsel. So if I act one way or the other, I can claim advice of counsel.
I mean, my perspective is that this seems like a new case to me.
Oh, I
It
would
looks like-
love to have your perspective.
Yes, so, I mean, this looks like just a straight up request for variance, right? And it does not pertain to a prior non-conforming use, so I think this will need to be renoticed and reheard.
That sold it for me. Mr. Pepper, I'm going to make a motion with your
Okay,
permission
yeah, make a
that we go ahead and renotice it and go again. That way there, if there's any question down the road, they don't have a problem and it's a clean slate. So that's my motion.
Yeah, I mean, I would, okay, so we're open, or is there a second? Okay, so it's, so for discussion, I would normally vote against that because I do think they're substantially the same, but with legal counsel saying that it's a new case, I don't know that I can do that. I mean, I don't even know when our legal counsel tells us it's a new case, I think it's a new case. So, all right, so there's a motion, that it be treated as a new case. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Okay, so we'll see you back again. Yeah.
For the record, I'll be sure to get them back as soon as we can to meet the legal notice requirement.
Yeah, if we can, I'm sure Mr. Hargis will work with you to get you back here.
And we'll put it at the beginning of
Put you
that
at the first of
agenda.
the
Okay.
docket.
We'll do.
These folks did wait the whole docket for this, so we'll.
Yeah, but if someone came in and challenged it down the road, and then they had all the expense like that.
Sure, yeah. Very good point. Yeah, so, okay. Yeah. All right, thank you all. Okay, that's.
We'll also include all the pictures from the whole existing. Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn. Is there a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. All right.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.